I thought he was going to be the kind of sober dude of saying, we got to get our books back in order. But no, apparently the central banker is going to be worse with money than the drama teacher. That really surprised me.
So joining me now is good friend of the show, my personal good friend and good friend to taxpayers everywhere, Kris Sims, the Alberta director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Kris, I wanted to have you on today to talk about the macro issue and then sort of the micro issue of finances in this country. And right off the top, we aren't getting a budget anytime soon from our new prime minister, who is allegedly a finance guy. So, and by the way, sorry to interrupt, all the same people. So it's not like they have to figure out how to learn on the job before they get a budget going. These are quite literally all the same people from Justin Trudeau's cabinet. So get to work, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I love how you said sorry to interrupt and it was talking to yourself. That was my favorite part. This is a mess. Straight up, I know that if there are still normies watching, hello, interesting that you're watching. If there are still normies watching, it can be understandable when you're like, okay, he's new to the job. Like, the physical human of Mark Carney is new to the role of prime minister. Okay, sure, that's fine. Dude also has a PhD in economics from Oxford. He was also a central banker, head of the Bank of Canada, head of the Bank of England. So he's been around an abacus before, okay? He knows the maths. That said, you're right.
Oh, wasn't he also the financial advisor to the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, who by default is also the prime minister of this country, for 5 years? So it's not like he's like just opening up the books for the first time. He's the keeper of the books.
Yes, exactly. And furthermore, he's just the figurehead. Right. It is not Mark Carney sitting up at night, sharpening his pencil, writing out the budget. Further, it's not even the cabinet minister with this clown car of the same cabinet ministers who are now paid more than $300,000 per year plus perks. It's the bureaucrats.
Right.
It's the same bureaucrats within the Department of Treasury and within the Department of Finance. This is their entire job, to keep a running tally of all of these columns. So they're the ones that work out all of the revenue by source, okay? All of the expense by function, which is basically what a budget is. You don't need to shove a whole bunch of, social words in there. It's really straight up. How much money are we taking in and from what sources? How much money are we dishing out and to whom? That's it. That's essentially what a budget is. And you also need to figure out, if you've got a deficit, how much that's adding to the debt. And you need to calculate your debt interest payments. So it's kind of like the big country credit card. That's it. That's a budget. And so, yeah, the pointy heads, the smart kids with the pocket protectors, and I know there are some in there in finance, okay? They got all this data. They have all of this. So, yes, the short answer is, could they put out a budget? Yes, they could. Would it be as flowery and fluffy as, say, a throne speech and all of the little hopes and pixie dust dreams shoved into it? No, that takes a little while to write, but you don't need that stuff in there. What we need is a fiscal document. That's all we need. And unfortunately, we're going to have to now wait until the fall to get it.
And that's crazy because they're making these wild spending announcements right now. And look, I'm not one to say that that we shouldn't be meeting our NATO spending commitments. Of all the spending the government does, that's one of them that I think is probably okay. But they're making these spending announcements without a budget. And these are billions and billions of dollars worth of spending announcements without telling Canadians where the money's coming from and where it is actually going at the end of the day.
Yeah, it reminds me, I don't like bringing this time up, but I'm going to keep bringing it up because nobody's been held accountable for it. It reminds me of back in the early 2020 time, just as we're in lockdown. Remember when the federal government tried to say, oh yeah, and by the way, we're not going to put out a budget like ever again, and we're just going to spend as much as we want with no representation in Parliament? Bye, thank you. They tried pulling that.
Right.
Like the feds tried pulling that. Basically, grant us unfettered spending power, please, Parliament, with no checks and balances. Thank goodness cooler heads prevailed and were like, no, how about we don't actually all jump off a cliff? They still wound up blowing a ton of money and being terribly unaccountable during that time. But they actually tried pulling that fast one. So this is why, no matter what color the jersey is, if it's a red government or a blue government, it doesn't matter. You need to stay on these folks like white on rice and say, nope, we need that fiscal document. We need a budget. You need to table it. We need to be able to examine it. Because otherwise you wind up with an unaccountable government that is blowing money left and right.
And that's what we have.
Yeah, that's what we have, unfortunately.
That's exactly what we have.
I know. What really, again, during the election campaign, this truly, it's hard to surprise me now. Been in the game too long, soon seen too many stupid things. But this truly surprised me when Carney came out and said, I'm going to add more to the debt than Trudeau was planning to do.
Right.
That truly surprised me because I thought he was going to try to take the tack of, I'm the adult in the room. I'm the one that understands math. I actually think of, fiscal policy. I know we can't grow the economy from the heart outwards. I'm not going to show you my socks. I thought he was going to be the kind of sober dude of saying, we got to get our books back in order. But no, apparently the central banker is going to be worse with money than the drama teacher. That really surprised me. And so I'm hoping that he kind of, mentally sobers up, so to speak, now that he's in the role and looks around, is like, I just can't stand this inefficiency. I'm not going to do this anymore. But so far, we're not seeing it. Because if he meant that, we'd have a budget.
Hey, what do you think about Alberta independence? What do you think about Alberta trying to get a better deal within Canada? Do you think Alberta should have the right to vote in a referendum to separate the same way Quebec did? There's a lot of things to talk about. Can Canada be fixed, or has the West tried that, done that, been there, and it's just not working? Well, we're going to talk about all these things in an amazing day-long conference in Red Deer, the heart of Alberta, on Saturday, June 14th. Go to donegettingscrewed.com to get your tickets now. It's going to be a full day. We'll start with a continental breakfast. We'll have panel discussions. We'll have keynote speakers. We'll even have a debate. I think that's going to be the highlight of it. David Legg, former advisor to the Alberta government, is going to make the case for Canada. Keith Wilson, lawyer, freedom activist, he was with the Freedom Convoy. He'll be making the case for independence. We'll have other people in the debates, a media panel, and people of different points of view, including different political parties. There's going to be a bit of a trade show there too. So we'll serve you 2 meals, but more than that, we'll serve you ideas you just can't get anywhere else. But it's coming up quick, and I promise you this event will sell out. There's only room for 1,000 people. And I know that there have been 1,000-person meetings about this subject all over the province. In fact, we had an event in Calgary that sold out in 2 days when we had only 350 seats. So don't be disappointed. Go to donegettingscrewed.com and get your tickets now. I'll be there. Sheila Gunn-Reid will be there. So many interesting people. Our friends in other media companies like Western Standard, Juno News, and Countersignal. It's going to be a great day. That's Saturday, June 14th in Red Deer, Alberta, all day long. Go to donegettingscrewed.com to get your ticket now. Don't wait. I don't want you to be locked out. It's going to be full. See you there. That's donegettingscrewed.com.